Welcome to True Crime Decoded. Here, we dig deep into some of the most chilling cases and try to make sense of the stories behind them. I'm Delitza, and today we're talking about a heartbreaking and disturbing case out of Akron, Ohio. One filled with betrayal, mental illness, and a crime that tore a family apart. This is the story of Sydney Powell, a 19-year-old college student accused of brutally murdering her mother, Brenda Powell, back in March of 2020. What could have possibly led to something like this? Was it the result of serious mental breakdown, or was there something deeper and darker going on? Let's find out. It was the afternoon of March 3rd of 2020 when police in Akron got a frantic 911 call. When officers arrived at the Powell home, they walked into a nightmare. 50-year-old Brenda Powell, a loving mom and longtime employee at the Akron Children's Hospital, had suffered severe head trauma and multiple stab wounds. Investigators later found out she'd been attacked with a cast iron skillet before being stabbed. And the person responsible? Her own daughter, Sydney. So the question everyone wanted to know was why? The Powells were, by all accounts, a typical close knit family. Stephen and Brenda raised Sydney and her younger brother Andrew in a quiet neighborhood where everyone knew each other. Brenda had worked at the Akron Children's Hospital for nearly 3 decades, helping kids and their families navigate some of their hardest days. She worked in the hematology oncology department, specifically the unit for kids battling cancer. And she wasn't just good at her job, she was the kind of person who went above and beyond. She helped organize special events like prom nights for the kids, complete with dresses, limos, and red carpets, giving them the chance to feel like movie stars, even if just for one night. Outside of work, Brenda loved being a mom. She was at every game, every event, cheering on her kids. Her husband, Steve, was a quality assurance executive, and together they built a life centered in love, family, and hard work. Sydney grew up excelling in school, smart, quiet, the kind of kids teachers love. She played soccer, made the honor roll, and graduated high school with a 3.8 GPA. Friends described her as Brenda's mini me. After high school, Sydney got into Mount Union College on a major scholarship. It covered most of her $50,000 a year tuition as long as she kept a 3.0 GPA. But like many first year college students, she struggled to adjust. The freedom, the parties, the late nights, it all started to catch up with her. Her parents stayed involved, checking in often and even using the Life 360 app to make sure she was safe. Everything looked fine. Sydney seemed to be where she said she was. But as we all know, appearances can be deceiving. In reality, Sydney hadn't been going to class for months. She was failing, but instead of telling her parents, she started lying. She told them that classes were canceled or moved online. She made up stories about professors, technical glitches, and even fake meetings. And when her dad noticed that the usual tuition payment hadn't gone through, she came up with yet another excuse, saying it was a mix up with the school's billing system. And for a while, it worked. But Brenda was starting to get suspicious. She had that gut feeling only a mom gets when something just isn't right. So, Brenda planned to meet with the university to get to the bottom of things herself. And that meeting was scheduled for March 3rd of 2020, the same day she was killed. Investigators believe that when Brenda started making calls to the university that afternoon, Sydney panicked. In what they say was either a moment of rage or desperation, she grabbed a cast iron skillet and attacked her mother, then stabbed her several times. Brenda tried to fight back, but the injuries were too severe. Sydney then tried to make it look like a break in, but the evidence didn't match the story. Police quickly pieced together what had actually happened. The trial began in September of 2021 and drew huge attention across Ohio. Sydney's defense argued that she wasn't guilty by reason of insanity, claiming she suffered from schizophrenia and wasn't in control of her actions. Prosecutors pushed back, saying that while Sydney might have been mentally ill, she still knew right from wrong, and that the cover up showed she understood exactly what she'd done. After 2 weeks of testimony and 9 hours of jury deliberation, the verdict came in guilty of murder, felonious assault, and tampering with evidence. The judge sentenced her to 15 years to life in prison. But that wasn't the end of it. In December of 2024, the appeals court overturned her conviction, saying the trial judge made an error by not allowing additional experts' testimony from Sydney's defense team. That means she'll be getting a new trial. Now, this case raises some tough questions about mental health and accountability. Was Sydney truly detached from reality, or was this a calculated act to hide the truth from her parents? Mental health professionals are still divided. Some believe her schizophrenia diagnosis explains her behavior, while others argue that mental illness does not excuse deliberate, violent actions. So, what do you think? Was Sydney Powell a victim of her own mind, or was this a desperate act she fully understood? Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear your take on this case. Thanks for listening to True Crime Decoded. I'm Delitza, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.